Cleveland CBX2 Wedge. Got a 60° 10. Got Dan here.
Hello everybody.
Dan's in charge of tech. Matt is on camera because your back's to it, Matt, isn't it?
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah.
We actually have got you a few shots outside, so we're going to show you about our feelings of it outside as well. We're now inside testing. I'm going to try and hit 70 yards because there's spin on spin on spin on grooves on spin grooves on spin on this. And obviously, I think, and Dan will tell me, a hollow cavity. This kind of wedge is maybe for the golfer who has chunkier irons, wants a specialised wedge, but this is offering maybe MOI values more equivalent to the irons they use. So I actually am very excited by the idea of this. I will challenge it as well because I think D-plane overtakes, but that's a different boy. Because obviously specialised wedges, if you go and use a really chunky iron, are maybe a little bit too thin, so let's experiment with it. Do you play a specialist wedge? Let me know up in that card up there. Really keen to know if this video helps you with your ideas of golf clubs. Let me know in the comments as always. If you like what you're seeing here, remember to hit the thumbs up button and don't be afraid to subscribe. If you're already subscribed, ring that bell, peoples. So 70 yards is my distance to hit. We'll have a look at the tech in a second. Do you see what I mean about the specialised wedge and giving you... I quite like that idea, don't you?
Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's a good thing, especially from a blend point of view. If you took that as a blend,
like that's a big jump.
Yeah, and I've done fittings where guys have said, "Well, can I really play a bladed wedge?" Because that's how they kind of look at it. Whereas that gives you a good option there, doesn't it?
And this is off the top of my head, and maybe in the comments down below, let me know. But I can't think of many other. Is there another company that does that apart from maybe Ping?
Mizuno.
Oh, because they do JPX wedges, don't they? Yeah. So I quite like the concept, and if I was selling clubs, I think it would offer a service to people who think a certain way about a wedge, like you're saying there. 73 yards, let's try and dial into there. So what's the first bit of tech for me, Dan?
Well, we love to talk about it, but it's got to be the spin, isn't it, from it?
Go on.
The grooves on grooves on grooves.
So what does that actually mean?
To start with, you've got the Tour zip grooves. So these are the deeper ones out of here, and then you've...
The score lines.
The score lines is what you got. And then in between that, we've got the laser milling. So you're going to see, I can see almost three small grooves, or 3 or 4 small grooves between the groove to groove to groove.
Okay.
And then we've obviously got our milling that goes around on the top, which is quite visible, isn't it? On top of there.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Cleveland have always been very tactile almost with their milling. Like you can really see and feel it. Like if you're selling spin, which anyone who watches my wedge reviews, please don't buy these on spin, but if that is what you are being sold on, this one definitely on the shop floor is going to tick boxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to win this CBX2 wedge that we're testing in this video? You can win this wedge simply by hitting that subscribe button down below. If you're subscribed to this channel, you have got a chance to win this wedge. So I want a subscribe, a comment telling us what you think of this wedge so far, and a little thumbs up. One subscriber who comments on this video going to win this. So I'm hitting 70 yards, and this is a 60-degree wedge, and I'm expecting around 10 to 11,000 worth of spin really off this club, because you got to remember spin is controlled and those kind of things. 77, so I just need to dial that back on yardage slightly. The shape, it's a decent size. It's like a nice big round size. It's got a medium top line, but because this is a 60, it's bent back. You're only really looking down, on this bit. You're not getting the back of it at all. You do see the milling and the grooves and everything when you're down looking at the ball, and that's going to make you feel like you get these spin numbers. Yeah, I get the look. It's like a medium to slightly larger faced wedge, which again, if you are using those kind of big game improvement clubs, the blend's going to be quite natural.
So they guarantee you hitting out the sweet spot, or pretty much saying that they're going to guarantee you hitting out the sweet spot with this particular one.
That's a brave one. How are they doing that, Danny boy?
So we're going to get a lighter hosel in this particular one, so you can start to see what's kind of going on here.
They're carving away here.
Yeah. They're getting a little bit wider in the toe.
Okay, so we've got basically quite wide in the toe, and this does feel light. Like when I hold this club head end, it feels crazy light. And they've used hollow necks for a while now, so I guess they're just trying to reposition the centre of gravity right behind the hitting zone, because obviously, subject to where the weight is, heavier heels and then big chunky toes, the centre of gravity will not be aligned with it's the centre you want to hit. Let's see if I can feel that. Go on, what are you going to say there?
Well, you've also got this cavity in here, so you've got, obviously, it's a hollow construction going on, and then obviously you've got the wider sole as well. I don't know if you notice anything.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I like the width for the sole on a 60. I think that will help a lot of people. So I guess the hollow and the cavity idea again is for that blend, isn't it? For helping you with hitting it X distances and those kind of things consistently.
But also a feel factor, if you think about it. Like, you're coming from a cavity back set of irons to then move into a blend in with a cavity wedge to go with it. It kind of make the same feel right the way through the bag.
Yeah, I like that. Right, so I'm going to hit a couple more. We went outside and hit some, so around the lovely chipping area here at Torquay. Let's talk about what we felt out there.
So for me, definitely the sole of the club just felt that little bit, I would say, easier to work with, purely based on the fact that it's quite wet out there at the moment, and that club just didn't want to kind of dig on me too much. So that was definitely a positive from my point of view. I also liked the size of it. You know, even though personally I prefer a slightly smaller looking wedge, I can see that working for a lot of players out there that want a little bit of, I don't know, maybe a bit of confidence when they're looking at wedges.
I like the size of it outside. I think, again, like Dan is saying, I think the blend would be really good. It felt decent in the bunker. It felt pretty nice from those tight lies, and I think the wider sole, it's wet and wintry here in the UK, and that I was happy that was there. Even though it's big with a bit more chunk, it didn't feel like I couldn't game it in all the situations you see us trying it here. You know, it's got a lot of versatility, I think.
I also like the size of it. It doesn't look big and chunky when you've got it down by the ball, and I also really like the way that the leading edge sits against the floor. So even though it's got 10 degrees of bounce, which me personally I wouldn't have, I'd have a little bit lower, even though it's got 10 degrees, it still looks like it's sat nice and flush, which I really liked.
So we're getting a bit of so we're getting the sole on these, the grinds on them come with the actual loft. So whatever loft you choose, the sole and grind has been made kind of for you, so you don't have to mess about with that. It's all done.
Like almost simplify it.
Trying to simplify it, yeah.
The V grind, on the bottom.
Okay, yeah. Which is this way, which I used Cleveland wedges, and I've always quite liked that. What do you think about the simplifying of it? Obviously, I think lots of people, you know, because it is, you've got to admit, this is going to be a bit more of an off-the-shelf purchase, isn't it? Like, we can all pretend that you need to get custom fit, and you should, but I've seen the stats on how many people buy custom fit and how many people buy off the shelf, and there are plenty buying off the shelf.
Yeah.
Like, if I could go and speak to each one of them and tell them they've got that slightly wrong, I would, but you can't. People are going to buy off the shelf. So simplifying it like this, kind of, there's... If you had a company, you would want to sell some clubs to people who buy it off the shelf, wouldn't you?
Absolutely, I think the people buying off the shelf aren't going to be asking the questions about the grind.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, for a manufacturing point, it's less that they have to do and make, isn't it?
Well, for stock control,
stock control, it's great as well for the company.
Arguably, it's perfect subject to your business model of your company, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I can hit one more, let's look at these numbers. I want to see the spin on the groove spin, on the spin, grooves that are spinning on the grooves.
Groove spin.
I'm just going to groove this spin. And I get a shot on a groove on a spin there. It's landed on a mat, it's on a mat. And I'm on the mat.
Groovy.
What?
Mark, let's look at your numbers, shall we?
I like that.
So let's look at your backspin to start us off with. Bearing in mind we're looking at groove on groove on groove here.
Yeah.
An average of 8,995. However, you've had one in there which sounded a little duffy.
The first one was a duff.
Yeah.
What happened to that shot?
That actually went, if we look at the yardage, went 81 yards.
Yeah.
You hit it with 6.876 spin and about 19 yards high. So you, what would you say, just popped off the top of the face?
Yeah, well, it's like semi-rough mat in it. So if you take that one out, what happens to the spin average?
Bring it to 9,231.
From?
What were we? 8,995. So you've just picked up a couple of hundred revs.
Yeah.
So that's 250 revs on an average. That's.
And what's the top end spin?
We're going from 10,181 spin, and obviously we dropped down to 7.6 as well in there. So again, just moving around. But
my variation is the bigger one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Distance control, apart from the duff, which I presume was it a long duff or a short duff?
It was a long duff,
Yeah,
so
it was
it
one of
popped
those
out
ones
there.
that-
It'll
yeah.
pop out there.
Fly ball.
70 yards on an average you'll carry, and you're fluctuating from 81 yards, which was the first one, but if we took that out, fluctuating from 77 down to 63 yards. So
that's me.
pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty good, and pretty much where you're at.
So not overly spinny, which I wouldn't
No.
say with any club personally, is it?
Not really, to be honest with you. It's not jumping out to me that there's more in this. I mean, I've seen you hit plenty of shots in here where you're playing about 70, 80 yards and you're spinning it comfortably at 10,000 revs with any wedge that we've tried in here. So I would say that kind of falls in the right area from what everybody else is kind of doing. Launch wise, 28.7 in your launch from a 60-degree wedge, which is again the right kind of window, isn't it? What you're trying to get. But yeah, pretty good.
Could you game that, Matt?
I could game it.
Why
I used
could
to
you...
game Cleveland's, but the feel, the sound, the looks all win for me. That's a really nice club, and when we're out testing around that green, I didn't see any negatives on those tight lies, wet lies, rough lies that really stood out. So absolutely would game it.
Dan, would you game it?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? It's not a problem looking down at that. I'm, looking at the back edge here and things like that. That's not affecting my eyes when I'm looking down at the ball, centering it up to the golf ball. So yeah, absolutely, I could game that.
So I could and couldn't game it. So I would want a specialised wedge to look like I want a specialised wedge to look. So I absolutely could game it if you take like any of my preconceptions of what I want away. Results, performance, good. I couldn't game it because I want my wedge to look a certain way, but there are more people out there, I would argue, who don't care what their wedge looks like. It needs to hit a certain price point, it needs to blend with their clubs, and there's more people going to be playing this style of club than there would be maybe my style of club which blends with my wedge. So I think I could understand why so many people could game this, and I'm sad to say I actually think the fact that you've got the simplified bounce with the loft, I think it's a really strong buying point. Even though I don't want you to buy wedges like that, I want you to test, and I want you to test bounces and get out there. But whenever I say that in videos, there's a good percentage of people that say, well, they don't take them on the course, they're buying them at a discount store, in the middle of a city, and they can't just walk them out, can't try them off the grass. I get all that, and this is going to be one of those good options for people, I think. It's good.
Are you saying that from the back of the looks or the top of the looks?
What do you mean that I couldn't game it? I would want my wedge, so it's my snobbery. I want my wedge to be more what the people on telly are using. I want it to be, so I don't want hollow.
Because I look down at it and it looks like my wedge, so I'm all good.
Yeah, well there you go.
The back of it is irrelevant because when I look down at it, it's all like a normal wedge.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
well, I would say it's slightly too big for what I want a wedge, and this is slightly too thick for what I want a wedge to look like,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And then I would go into a shop and someone would say, this is hollow cavity and it'll help you, and I would just say, well, I don't want help with my wedge in strike. I don't really it's a 60-degree wedge. We're at the best D-plane setting you can get. That's where I'm going with the not buying for me or using it for me. But absolutely, like if it was game this or don't play golf, this is perfect and fine, and I can play golf with this. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But that's a decision some people are making. They haven't got the luxury of getting fit and buying the really expensive wedge and have 3 of them or 4 of them. I get all that. So I think it ticks a lot of boxes. Post comments down below. What makes you buy your wedge? Do you get to test them outside and inside? I'd love to hear in those comments down below. If you want to see more reviews on wedges and things Cleveland and anything golf, maybe let us know in that comments and hit the subscribe button because the videos will be coming.